Hello, hello. Let's get into today's news. I'll turn down the scary music. You're all scared, right? Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. This is for October 28th, 2022, and I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. ohmTown.com is what powers the ohmTown Daily News Show. Maybe my scary music's a little too loud. I'm not sure. I can hear it. I don't know if you can. What I've done is, instead of pasting the articles slowly into the stream as I go through them, I've posted them all in there. Now you can just hit ! Showbot, and that will allow you to get a link to where the articles are. For the next 24 hours, that's where the articles will be. Then they will transfer over to the show notes. And it'll be on the VODs here on Twitch. It'll be migrated over to YouTube and, of course, the podcast. Please start downloading the podcast. I won't get into it. But anyway, let me know what you think of the podcast. It basically is the show, but in podcast form, so no video. But the show notes are in there and have the URLs to all of the articles that we talk about, and of course I'm sitting there ranting and raving about the articles. So that's what I'm going to do from now on. I'm just going to post them all over to Showbot. Let's get into the first article, but right before I start that, I do want to kind of encourage you to check out, if you want to, a stream that is more about chilling and not stressing about the news and about the economy and about school and work and business and whatever else might be going on in the world that you inhabit. And that's Waffleton Adventure Company. It's a stream here on Twitch, and it is my sand table, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right now it's streaming chill music, lo-fi stuff, nothing big and bombastic, but it's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know I only have a small carbon footprint here on Twitch, but I listen to a lot of different music, and sometimes I like to just throw a kind of a chill stream on where nobody's screaming when they're scared, or no spontaneous explosions and stuff like that. And I really didn't ever find anything that also had a dynamic graphic, and so I spun this up because I've got a sand table and it's always changing shape. You won't hear it grinding away like I do because it's actually sitting right there in Mayor Watt's office. I'm just changing its design 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the music is doing the same thing. Anyway, that's that, and I'll just get into the news. Okay, so the very first article is a TikTok user turns iPhone into an iBook G3 with a 3D printed case. Thought this was pretty neat. A little of everything is over on TikTok. A TikTok user known for creating... Pardon me one second. I don't know what happened there. Creating custom iPad cases has built a miniature iBook G3 case for iPhone. Let's just go over to appleinsider.com. Wesley Hilliard is the author of this. And if you're familiar with the iBook cases, they basically folded up little clamshell kind of things. They were all the rage with Legally Blonde, I think, was the first time it really... somebody really highlighted it. I think that was it. Although... everybody, as far as I know, is very popular, but I never got one of those. The DIY community is full of creative individuals looking to revive some of Apple's nostalgic designs in modern technology. TikTok user Skipper Films has become popular for building custom iPad enclosures that look like an Apple iBook G3, but now he's back with something a little smaller. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is over at appleinsider.com, so definitely an Apple-related thing. A short TikTok video shows the creator built a miniature version of an iPad case for an iPhone, and it's much less complex than the original, but still functional. And yeah, it's a little clamshell. Dual color, not as transparent as the... Yeah, it was much more transparent. These are more... looks a little bit too opaque to really be an iBook G3, but hey. Those interested in the iBook G3 cases built for iPad can check out the Skip Retro website. Cases are handmade and in very limited quantities and are sold for $1,000 each. Let's just go move on to the next one. The next article is in the Mobile channel. Dyson vacuums of our dreams are $150 off for Way Day. I picked this because I've always wanted a Dyson vacuum, but I couldn't justify it. I still can't, even with $150 off, but maybe somebody else does. Figure in this $150 off price and get the Dyson V8 Absolute cordless stick vacuum. I have nothing to do with Wayfair or Dyson. I don't get any kickbacks or anything. This is actually over at Vice. The Tesla of vacuums, the Dyson V8 Absolute and V12 Detect Slim, are at their most affordable price yet this weekend. Now, okay, so the only time that I've ever purchased anything from Wayfair, we now refer to Wayfair products as elf furniture, because although they measure the same like width and depth and whatever, the arms are really thin, the back is really thin, they are really light. I don't know. I just when I moved into a new house, I ended up looking for new furniture, and the furniture that I bought when I first moved to where I was, I said, well, let's get this Wayfair furniture. It's the right dimensions, but when I got it, it looked like elf furniture. It's the same size. It's just really thin, really small looking. And when compared to the furniture that I ended up getting for my new place, it didn't measure up. But Dyson is Dyson. So no matter what, it will be a Dyson product, not a Wayfair brand product. So take advantage of $150 off and get yourself a reliable quality vacuum. I might end up doing that, but it's still $150 off a $650 item. Actually, and not both of them. The V8 is $339.99, so $340. It used to be it used to be $500, and the V12 is $549.99, so $550, down from $650, so it's only $100 off. And in the immortal words of Vice.com, get sucking. The next article is in the Stock Marketeers channel, Personal Finance Daily. Inflation takes its toll on American finances as emergency funds run dry and mortgage rates surpass 7%, Freddie Mac says. In fact, let me just refresh this. It actually was higher than 8 less than a week ago. But right now it is sitting at 7.5 if you have a 700 to 719 credit score. And that's pretty much the national average here in the States. I'm not quite sure how it all works in other countries, other locations, the EU, for instance. I know that there has been historically a component of viewers here at ohmTown from the EU and other regions on the planet. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. So if you don't put 20% down, or you have a higher credit score, it'll drop to above 7.1, which is still twice what it was in November of 2021, or more than twice, just to say really what it was. I mean, you could have gotten a mortgage here in the United States with a 720 or 800, and it was somewhere around the 2.5. Just very exploitive. I just don't understand. And when I say that, I do understand, but I don't understand. It seems like human nature is to be exploitive of other human beings. And I always, when I talk like this, I always feel compelled to let everyone know, yes, I am a capitalist. I believe in providing products and services, work for work, value for value. You pay me and I provide you a service, or I provide you a good. If I manufacture something and I do an accounting of it and I say, well, this is what it is in value to someone, and not just the products, raw materials, plus a little bit of juice, but how much it benefits, in my perception, you. And if I think that you will pay, even 30-40%, fine. But I'm not talking about something that is fundamental to human habitation on the planet. Everyone has to have food. Everyone deserves healthcare. Everyone deserves shelter. It doesn't have to be the best damn thing on the block. It doesn't have to be the most expensive house in the neighborhood. But for crying out loud, 8% interest on a $150,000 house is quite a bit. Plus, you have to get 20% down. Otherwise, nobody's going to buy into you repaying it. Because apparently, if you don't put 20% down, then the risk is higher. And therefore, you have to be charged a higher percentage rate, which exacerbates the cost to you as the purchaser of the house, almost always pushing you at 7.5%. It pushes you out of the opportunity to purchase a house. Ta-da! Meanwhile, as inflation is increasing, cost for products, raw materials from the producer price index, food, everything going up, we have a banner stock market. Why? Because it's the rich trying to bet against the rich. And I haven't gotten to the next article, which will really be the elephant in the room. Well, the article about inflation from Market Watch is written by Emma Ackerman. And it says, let's see here. Living paycheck to paycheck has become the norm. Inflation takes its toll on American finances, and as emergency funds run dry. Pardon me one second. There's a bunch of articles that are basically the top stories. The calm before the storm. Employer health care premiums hold steady despite inflation, but experts warn that may not last. Why is healthcare premiums going? Why is it even a thing? Employers should be paying for the healthcare of the workers, but instead, it's offset, sometimes 50%, 60%, whatever, for the employees to pay, somewhere around 50 or 60%. Really depends on the organization. I mean, it's very flexible But if I work for a company, then maybe they should pay to make sure that when something is wrong with me, I can go and get health care so that I can come back to work as expedited as possible. Meanwhile, though, the executive suite is making bank off of my hard work, and I'm still paying co-pays on top of co-pays on top of monthly payments, check by check by check. It says here, how one man makes more than $1,000 a year by joining class action lawsuits. That's an interesting article, right? Anyway, that's not really what we're talking about. But inflation is draining the bank accounts of most people. It's just the nature of the beast. With everything costing more, where is that money going? Well, it's apparently not going to the government, right? It's going into private pockets because there is money in the system. And just because the money is in the system doesn't mean that every corporation needs to jack their prices up. This is a self-inflicted inflationary trend born off of corporate and large corporate greed. I'm not talking about small businesses. $5 million and less. The companies aren't able. They're raising costs because their costs are increasing. I'm talking about companies making billions of dollars in a quarter. They are the ones that are raising costs and making profit during a recession. I should say, while we're trending towards a recession with an inflationary trend that's more than obvious. I mean, if you look around, it's obvious. The next article is in the Law & Order channel. Elon Musk pretty much owns Twitter now. That's the elephant in the room. I know most people know about this now. Elon Musk closed the deal today, actually last night, and booted everybody out. Apparently there are people that are being fired as well. The argument is that Elon Musk will now turn it all around. And frankly, I think that's bogus. I don't think that you can have a plurality of population and make a massive profit any more than Twitter did. This isn't building a product with resources that are owned ultimately by an individual. This isn't a car. You're not getting a government grant from the public to spin up using other engineers' work, just like Tesla, just like PayPal. Every single thing that I have seen Elon Musk involved in has a multitude of other people, and all of these other people do their job, do what they are part of the organization to do. That's why they're there. People are like, well, he's invented stuff. No, he's got his name on inventions. I would really like to interview the people that his name is also, it's his name, but there's another engineer involved. There's an engineer involved. He didn't make Tesla. He bought into it. He bought into ownership. PayPal, the same thing. Zip2, the original organization that he parlayed his money into, PayPal, X, I should say. It was X, and he was with other people, and that got turned into PayPal with Peter Thiel, and there are more people there buying his way into the CEO position. And now Twitter, same thing, bought his way into the CEO position. And I really doubt anything is going to happen with Twitter. I think now is the time that somebody else should spin up a Twitter competitor and start chomping big old pieces of the pie away, and Twitter will just get buried. It has run its course because it basically, well, there was a wealth transfer. The people that founded it are gone, and their money is now in their hands, hundreds of millions of dollars. And Twitter now is saddled with massive amount of debt. So we'll see. There's going to be some unemployment lines getting expanded here in not too long. Well, let's keep on. Let's go over to the article itself. It's in Above the Law, so you know it's going to be a hilarious article when you read it. Chris Williams is the author of this. I don't think it's that Chris Williams, but this thought brought to you by that one video where the guy demolished that Tesla window with a metal ball. Elon Musk pretty much owns Twitter now. No way this will come back to haunt us all. It is Halloween. You should expect Donny Boy to have Twitter access again soon. Elon Musk, our resident greater value Lex Luthor with a penchant for naming children after what appears to be slurs in the robot community. This is the writing. The writing at Above the Law is just chef's kiss. I mean, it's just amazing. Is expected to be the majority owner of Twitter by tomorrow. So this was done October 27th. Today is October 28th. The news covers the last 24 hours. And then he goes on. So apparently Musk says that Twitter's advertising is actually pretty good. It says if your intermediate thought looking at the tweet wall above was, quote, Chris, I'm not trying to read all that. Just tell me what this narcissist is getting at. Well, Chris says, I am sorry to tell you that Mr. Musk's Neuralink technology has already preempted your concern. He promises that his main motivation to buy the company was not profit, but to try to help humanity, whom he loves. Yes. This sounds familiar. I swear it was Zuckerberg that said something similar. You know, that, anyway, I'll have to go and look for that quote. It would appear that the cavalcade of yes men surrounding Musk failed to mention that this reads as the most ominous promise of benevolence since, quote, we have a warrant, just come out with your hands up and no one gets hurt. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Twitter at this point, but when you have to buy your way into the CEO position, maybe it should be an indicator that things aren't going the right way. You know, it isn't that everybody loves you and everybody thinks you're awesome. It's that you're making a ton of money for people, and that's why they care about you. That's it. So it's basically sociopathy being pushed around and everybody hero worshiping the icon of sociopathy. Oh, look. Wow. And then I get an alert about Kanye West. And now here, even in this article, Trump getting his access back and Kanye West being openly anti-Semitic. The rise of sociopathy, folks. There's even a book about it. You should go and look it up. Just look for the rise of sociopathy and you'll find a book. This next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. CPU cooling company says definitely don't put salt in your thermal paste. I'm not quite sure why people do this, but I have heard this before in other areas. Now, in other areas, I agree. Yeah, you could probably put salt in something. For instance, in woodworking, some people actually throw salt in the glue so that when they are doing the glue up, they don't have to keep on hitting everything with a hammer, a mallet, or having to screw around with clamps again and again and again, because the salt allows the glue to grab onto the wood and it just kind of gets compressed together. The salt dissolves in the glue, or even if it doesn't, it's clamped together to the point where it's basically acting like a friction point and doesn't allow the wood to shift. But guess what? Thermal paste is not glue, and it isn't two pieces of wood that are supposed to flex. No, no, no. Hardware enthusiasts are always looking for ways to bring down temperatures to raise performance of their processor. Some would even go to extreme lengths, such as grinding down the heat spreader on a Ryzen 7000 CPU on a belt sander. The author of this article says, I'm serious. TikToker Myreester, when he's not doing weird thermal paste designs, wanted to see if adding salt to thermal paste would be the secret ingredient to unlocking supercooling. Spoilers, it was not. His theory was that since iodized salt's thermal conductivity is higher than some thermal paste, mixing the two would produce a miracle glue that would be a better heat transfer. No. The reason why thermal paste does what it does is because it's so finely produced that it fills in the right down to near atomic structure, so that there's more contact between one piece of metal and the next piece of metal instead of air, which is a great insulator. It's to get rid of air. So when you take a CPU cooler off of a CPU and you find any gap in there, somebody was trying to kill your CPU. And you should probably find out who it was at the company that built your machine and have them professionally throttled, right? So drag them out to the office square and read the riot act. Anyway, for more insight on the experiment from the people that know cooling, the author reached out to Noctua. By the way, they make awesome, if not, well, to me, aesthetically challenged fans. Hardware manufacturer that knows a thing or two about CPU cooling. I actually need some fans because one of my machines is starting to act a little odd, but it's many years old now. And I normally swap out my fans, but on that machine I didn't. And now I'm paying the price because I'll have to shut everything down just to swap out fans. Ugh. Anyway, I'll be buying some Noctua fans. Hardware manufacturer that knows a thing or two about cooling. It explained to the author why introducing salt or any other foreign substance while they're at it into your thermal paste is such a bad idea. So I'm going to click this link. Actually, I don't need to click it because I already opened it up. George Jimenez is the author of this article over at PC Gamer. It says this may be the only case where adding a pinch of salt isn't recommended. In many cases, you don't pour salt in your eyes and don't pour it on a CPU. So let's see. After initially wondering if the author was serious, which was a reasonable response since their day-to-day consists of asking hardware professionals if doing a ridiculous PC mod that they saw online is a good idea or not, the company said definitely doesn't recommend doing it, then gave several reasons as to why salt should not be mixed with your thermal paste. Well, first off, it's going to eat away at the metal. It's going to grab moisture as well. Salt grabs moisture. The thermal conductivity of salt is much lower than that of traditional filler materials such as aluminum oxide, which is aluminum rust, or metal oxides, the reptiles. Also, salt particles keep the cooler from making good contact with the CPU, so their thermal performance is going to be poor due to poor contact. But last but not least, high risk of corrosion issues. So everything that I said. Part of me was hoping that the salt would have a cheap and easy way to... This must be an article that it's just like a slow news day. Let's move on to the next article. Pico4 Enterprise adds eye and face tracking for business while drastically undercutting the competition. If you hadn't heard about this, right after I purchased... Actually, no, I shouldn't say right after I purchased. Right after they dropped the Pico4, they dropped the Pico4 Enterprise, which has facing squared. Maybe that's it. Facing cubed because it's in 3 dimensions. Anyway, Pico has face-facing cameras in the Enterprise Edition in the same footprint as the Pico4. It's $800, half the cost of the Meta Quest Pro. In addition to the consumer-focused Pico4 headset launched this week, the company is also getting ready to release a business-focused variant called the Pico4 Enterprise. Some people were hinting at it being named Pico4 Pro, but new. Which brings platform, eye, and face tracking for a price that aims to completely destroy the competition. Ben Lang over at Road to VR is the author of this article, and they post an update, October 20th update. So this is actually 8 days old, but when it came through my aggregator, there must have been an update because it would normally not be aggregated again, but it was. So this processor is near the same as the Quest, has higher resolution than the Quest, has the same pancake lenses, although not sure about the actual parallels between these two in terms of pancake lenses and quality. A lot of people are saying that the Pico actually has a lower brightness. So we'll see. I actually have a Pico4 on order. It's supposedly in transit. We'll see. A lot of people have said that that's probably a bad decision to get something international and that it can get stuck or disappear. Well, there are checks and balances for that. But anyway, I will probably start streaming virtual reality related material more so in the Reality Hacker channel that I am planning to spin up starting in January or sooner. Really, it depends on me getting a wireless VR headset. And while I have my own concerns about ByteDance, I have more concerns about Meta and the fact that they've culturally misappropriated the entirety of the metaverse concept into their own business identity. No, metaverse should not be able to get branded by a company. Metaverse is the entirety of the virtual reality existence. Anyway, so yeah, the Pico4 Enterprise adds eye tracking and face tracking for business while drastically undercutting the competition. And again, go over to Road to VR. The next article is in the Law Nerd channel. Lawyer pleads guilty in staged accident scheme and victims underwent unnecessary surgery. If you are committed to defrauding, this is where pretty much we're at the pinnacle of it. Deborah Cassens-Weiss over at abajournal.com wrote this article. A New York lawyer has, it says pleaded guilty. For whatever reason, I have a hard time saying pleaded, but pleaded guilty to wire fraud for participating in a scheme involving phony trip and fall accidents and fraudulent lawsuits. Mark Elephant, 51, not elephant as in, it's elephant, not elephant, 51 of New York City, pleaded guilty Monday, according to a Department of Justice press release in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. He agreed to forfeit more than, just shy of $1 million to the United States and pay nearly $1.5 million in restitution. That's interesting. I guess when the value gets into the hundreds of millions, then suddenly the restitution part isn't nearly as much as the profits, but maybe this person is actually going to be paying. I would really like to know how much was actually acquired, but it'll say it here later in the article. He agreed to forfeit more than $955,000 to the United States and to pay nearly $1.5 million in restitution. The crime also carries a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison. Participants in the scheme recruited more than 400 people, including homeless people and drug addicts, to go to a location and deliberately fall or to claim that they had fallen, prosecutors say. You know, when you have to get 400 people to do something and it involves homeless people and drug addicts, you're gonna get caught. 400 people, for crying out loud. Those people were told to receive chiropractic and medical treatment. They were also paid to obtain unnecessary surgery in amounts that typically range from $1,000 to $1,500. The participants in the scheme collectively sought to defraud scam victims out of more than $31 million. So was that valuation legit? And they're only paying 1.5 million plus 1 million to the United States? 1.5 million in restitution and 1 million to the United States. Yet it says here the participants in the scheme collectively sought to defraud scam victims out of more than $31 million. Elephant filed lawsuits against insurers or owners of the accident sites on behalf of the phony victims, and a doctor accused of participating in the scheme has already, or it says a doctor, but then have already pleaded guilty. Wow. So this was actually covered in articles from Law 360, Bloomberg Law, and Reuters. Neat. So there's some other subtle stuff in this article. I would suggest going over to abajournal.com and reading some more about it if you are inclined. I'm always interested in law, which is why I spun up the Law Nerd channel. This next article is in the Smack Talk channel, and its title is Apple stock rising fast as other big tech companies fall hard. The real title really is Apple stocks rising fast as other big tech firms fall hard. Following its quarterly earnings report, Apple has seen its stocks going up 7% and seemingly rising, while all the other big tech firms have seen steep declines. That's largely because Apple's profit margin and supply chain is ridiculously profitable, 30% to some accounts. So I have no concern about Apple. I don't see Apple falling on its face, and definitely not leaning hard into a concept that is so abstract from the standard processing of people's minds. Like nobody understands the metaverse, like truly what all is involved in it. Apple will probably do AR glasses before they do VR glasses, and it'll be powered by some other element within their cadre of devices. So you can use Apple AR glasses, but they're going to be AR, not VR, and they're going to work with the iPhone. Why? Because if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you're using AR, odds on you've got a phone. And that can be the engine that basically does everything and throws images onto your AR glasses based on the beacons and QR codes and other things that are in the real world. Following quarter earnings, Apple has seen its stock go up 7% and seemingly rising. Wedbush summarized the results by describing Apple as a Rock of Gibraltar name in large cap tech, with Cook flying Cupertino through this economic storm. Although I read somebody saying that Apple stock should probably decline because of the way that Tim Cook slowly waved the checkered flag at the US Grand Prix. Oh, it was so weak. I don't know. Maybe he had worked out really hard that day and his arms were suffering. As markets open on Friday, the day after financial earnings call, Apple stock began rising an initial 6%, then 7%, and at the time of the writing of the article, 8%. And CNBC says Facebook owner Meta saw its shares drop 24.5%. Well, they've lost a whole lot. They are getting destroyed. Previously, CNBC's Jim Cramer has described Apple as the greatest stock of all time. I don't like agreeing with Jim Cramer. But Apple, at one point, back in the late 90s, maybe middle 90s. I can't remember the exact date, but anyway, Microsoft actually invested heavily in Apple and already capitalized on it, and Apple pivoted and is just crushing it since then, nonstop. Device after device, changing the face of technology, consumer level technology. Not to mention the more industrial side of things. Apple could bring servers back using the Apple server that everybody, as far as I know, liked. It was a Linux-based server, just like Apple is right now. Well, it's a form of Linux. Anyway, let's move on. I actually have to get out of here. This is why I'm doing the show early. I have a meeting that I need to attend. Okay, let's see. The last and the final article for today is in the Word in Tech, 6 spooky things to stream this Halloween. It's in the Word in Tech because it's Halloween, and I was going to actually, I'm planning on getting in the groove of the Word in Tech being a 1-hour show separate throughout the week. Basically adding another show after the ohmTown Daily News show for 1 hour each day of the week. So we'll be moving up to 7 news shows plus the daily news show. At any rate, from black and white superhero stories to stop motion family films, the streaming services have plenty of new stuff to freak you out this spooky season. This is over at theverge.com. But Andrew Webster basically just put together 6. There's a whole lot more, folks. I just watched Ghost Rider, the entirety of Ghost Rider with the family. It's a fun watch, 6 spooky new things to stream this Halloween. Andrew Webster over at The Verge put this together. Wendell and Wild over on Netflix. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I did not get to watch that. It's an 8-episode anthology type of show. I won't go into the minutia of it because I want you to go over to The Verge and read it. But I haven't watched Wendell and Wild. It looks like it's 2 vampires. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities is, it depends on what scares you. So I've heard that it's great, so go and watch it. It says here, it expands beyond those horizons with a collection of very different takes on horror, in that it'll appeal to fans of Del Toro's work. Oh, pardon me. The Midnight Club, I haven't seen this yet. Clearly part of Mike Flanagan's anthology series, but differentiates itself by playing like a collection of fireside ghost stories. They make a little bit more commentary, and there's 10 episodes of that. Hellraiser is over on Hulu. I've heard some good things. I have not been able to watch it because I'm not a big fan of Hulu's interface, and it's just yet another subscription service. So Hulu, I could probably get it for free because it's part of something else that I subscribe to. I just never actually closed the loop on it. But I spend way too much on subscription services. And Werewolf by Night is over on Disney Plus. That's something that I am supposed to go and watch. I keep seeing it, but I just haven't done it yet. But it's supposed to be pretty good. And I think the last one here, again, I flew too close to the sun, which is the bottom of the fold for The Verge. And Mr. Harrigan's phone, which if I recall this correctly, this is the one where his phone is buried with him, Mr. Harrigan. And this is part of the ad, the trailer, which I can't play because it's on Netflix, and Netflix hates me. I'm not allowed to stream anything on Netflix. Everybody else seems to, but when I do it, I get flagged. Maybe others sit there and do paperwork to allow them to play the trailer, but apparently I cannot. Anyway, he apparently gets buried with a phone, and that allows him to communicate with the protagonist. Mr. Harrigan's phone. That's what it's called. Okay. Well, that's it for today from ohmTown Daily News. It's about 10 articles. I will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m., just like usual. Feel free to go over to ohmtown.showbot.tv and vote on the articles that you find are interesting. I'll keep it in mind when I am parsing the rest of the day's news every 24 hours. And it helps me decide what the next series of shows are that I'm going to spin up. I've spent the last year kind of getting into a groove with ohmTown Daily News Show. And I've realized that I need to spend more time online with everybody. So that, that's where I want to be. And I realize that I just can't do an hour a day. I need to spend more time with you all. So keep checking in. Download the VODs. Download the YouTube stream there, and download the podcast, and come back at 6 p.m. tomorrow, and we can chat about the day's news, whatever it might be. You just never know what's going to be part of the show. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.